Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Siai Show. I'm so excited that you get to tune in from wherever you are. I hope you are encouraged by today's show. Our topic today is marriage and relationships, and I'm so excited because I have my parents who are on the show with me. Not just my parents, but my pastors as well. Mom and Dad, why don't you tell us just a little bit about what you do and how long you've been married?
Well, first of all, I'm Debbie.
And I'm Dave.
And we've been married for 30 years. We celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, April 8th, 2017.
And it seems like just yesterday, really.
Yeah. And as far as what we do, we used to pastor churches. Now we just pastor leaders of churches.
Yeah.
That's
At least
awesome.
Great Life United, that is. Yeah.
And I drive an ice cream truck. No, I'm just kidding.
And I eat all the ice cream.
But they use the term apostle because we go into different places and plant churches, and so we oversee our leaders, and that's basically what our life has been committed to, besides being parents and also grandparents.
That's awesome. So you've been married for 30 years. How long have you been pastoring?
We've actually been pastoring for about 29 years together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we took over Dad's church, Grandpa's church, after a year of marriage. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Whew,
That's
we've been in it
awesome.
for a long time, honey.
Yeah, so 30 years of being married, 29 years of pastoring a church. So today we're talking about just marriage and relationships. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you've had to do to keep the spirit of longevity in your marriage going the distance?
I think a lot of people demand from marriage things that really marriage can't give, like perfect happiness,
Yeah.
Chaos-free living. When God always meant for marriage to provide partnership, provide spiritual intimacy, and just really provide a place where you can pursue God together.
Yeah. Well, in our line of work, we have the awesome opportunity of coaching young people before they get married,
Yeah.
going through premarital counseling. And one of the things we tell them is just listen to the word marriage. Marriage kind of sounds like another word in the dictionary, marathon.
Yeah.
And a marathon is not your short distance sprint. It's not a
Right.
50-yard
Yeah.
dash.
Yeah.
A marathon is a long run. Now, I haven't run a marathon yet. Maybe I should. But some of my brothers have run marathons, like Joe and Sam. And one of the things I remember Joe saying was marathon has taught him a life lesson, and that is the art of pacing yourself.
That's great.
In a long run like that, you've got to learn how to pace yourself. You can't just start like a firecracker and keep going like that.
Yeah.
You've got to pace yourself through the different seasons and chapters and scenarios that marriage brings, and sometimes unexpected seasons.
That's
So
good.
just learning how to pace yourself, that, and also coupled with the Word of God,
Yes.
because it is God
Yeah.
who established marriage.
Absolutely.
Marriage
Very
is not a
good.
government establishment. Marriage is not something that some guy thought of.
Yeah.
It was established by God.
Very good. Now, with I know that we have some single people watching today. So, do you believe in the concept of the one, or there's just one person out there for you?
When it comes to marriage, yes, one. You can't have more than one. But also, because we're targeting the single people right now, if I was to give my granddaughters some advice, and my two teenage kids, the four older ones are, they're doing their thing and God's blessing them, but the two teenagers, I would say, just because this culture and this society encourages, dating as many people as you possibly
Yeah.
can before you settle down, there's a very bad demise in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
When we were youth pastors, I don't know if you remember, babe, but we used to do this illustration where we would take a roll of tape, and I would tear the tape off and tape it to my arm, and while I'm talking, I would say, this is what it's like when you date multiple people. So I'd pull the tape off and I'd put it on some girl's arm, and I'd say to the guys, now let's say this is your first girlfriend, okay? And so your first girlfriend has got the tape, and then I rip it off of her arm, put it on a second girl, and I'd say, there goes your second girlfriend, there goes your third girlfriend. By the time it gets to the fourth, there's no more stick to it.
Wow, yeah.
And but that's
good.
what this society, especially here in America, the Western world,
Yeah.
encourages, multiple dating. But I think if we could teach our kids that God does have that one, and it's worth the wait.
Very
It's
good.
worth the wait. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I think too that every time you date, depending on what kind of standards you set for yourself in dating, you give a little bit of yourself
Yeah.
away every
Yeah.
time.
Piece of
So
yourself, yeah.
imagine, giving yourself away several times. I mean, by
Wow.
the time you finally come to the one that you truly feel is the one, you have to just collect so many pieces
Wow.
of yourself
Yeah.
back. And so I
Very
think
good.
for those that are dating, we really do want to encourage that that you do, because God does have a perfect plan.
Yes.
And maybe that's what I want to add to it, is that sometimes it's not so much that there is D1, but the fact that God has a perfect plan, that whoever that is, because none of us are perfect,
Very good.
but whoever that is that you finally do end up settling your life with, it is that God does have a perfect plan. Because you know what, there are some of us who were dating, ended up getting married for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But then you discover God's perfect plan. So
Yeah.
then, at that point, that becomes the perfect one, or the one
Yeah.
for you.
It's
So-
almost like we're not perfect, but we're perfect for each other,
Yeah.
because it's what God ordained,
Yeah.
what God designed.
Very good. Now you've talked about longevity and being in it for the long run. So what do you do? What can you encourage married people as far as what do you do when boredom strikes in your marriage?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think to answer that, I think I want to define the why behind the what. I think any of us, whether it's marriage or just life, when we get into routines, and I think a lot of us get into routines because it's a way to keep our life in order.
Yeah.
So we develop these routines. But I think any of us, whether it's with marriage or just life in general, when we keep those routines for long periods of time, you're going to get bored with
Yeah,
it. And
true.
so, but the good news is, so maybe the bad news is that all of us are going to get bored at some point.
Yeah.
But the good news is that you can do something about it. And I think one of those very first thing that you can do about it is really begin when you find your marriage in that boredom season, really begin with serious prayer and serious Bible reading. Because
good.
all of us are spiritual beings, whether we believe in God or not. It doesn't deny the fact that He's created us to be spiritual beings. So when there's nothing that sparks your person and bring them back to life, then really reconnecting with meaningful communication with God through prayer and through Bible reading. Because I think that's why a lot of times relationships go flat, is because we lose meaningful communication.
Very good.
We get into the routine of just talking about kids and problems and how to pay bills and getting into financial better financial status, and we stop giving the love notes like we used to give during the exciting
That's
times
good.
and the exciting seasons.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think we enter into marriage with myths. We travel and we ride a lot of long airplane rides, and sometimes to cut the boredom in the airplane ride, I'll order a movie. And when you're looking at the expression or the mood of the movie, one is an action, one is a thriller, one is drama. But you can't compare your marriage to the movies because
Wow, that's great.
Because here's the thing: marriage is not always action.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a thriller, but then sometimes it's got some drama in it.
Yeah.
And you just need to learn how to operate within the ebb and flow of what God has given to us. One word of advice I'd like to give if you want your marriage to last long, put God first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Just make sure that He's at the helm. And sometimes, like Mary and Joseph lost Jesus, and they turned around and He was in the. Sometimes we can lose God,
Wow.
in our marriages, and so we need to keep stock, keep
Yeah.
inventory. Where is
That's
God
great.
in this? Because if He's not there, then we go down to a twofold cord and not a threefold cord, and
That's
a
good.
twofold cord breaks.
Yes.
And I think another thing I want to add just to that question, CI, is really go beyond the minimum.
Very good.
Just again, because when you get into routines, it's such a routine. Now you don't even have to think about it or make an effort to it. You just give it, the minimum. And I just want to say in saying that marriage really is not like gambling where you put in a little with the with the hope that you're going to hit the
Come on,
jackpot.
yeah.
That's not how marriage works.
Yeah.
It's the old story. You get out of something what you put into it.
Very
so
good.
if you put in minimum, you're going to get minimum results
Yeah.
out of it. So
That's good. Well, we're going to take a break, but before we do, I've heard that you guys are hosting a marriage conference in New Zealand called Not Happy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Not Happy in Auckland, New Zealand is going to be Friday night and Saturday, June 30th and July 1st. It's a curriculum that God gave to us 4 years ago, and we sat and we wrote it with couples in mind who are not happy, N-O-T. And so God gave us the name K-N-O-T to go back to the knot that
Awesome.
they tied. Sometimes that knot gets loose, and you don't know how. You know what happens when your knot gets loose? You stumble over yourself, and
Yeah.
you step on the strings, but tighten the knot.
Very
Get happy
good.
in your marriage again.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
good.
it's happening in Auckland, and we're really excited about it. Register because seats are filling up really fast.
Yes.
yes, and it's going to be at Life Church in Manurewa. So come and join us. I think there's a link on the screen for you to register and get all the information that you need. We'd love to see you there. And if you happen to come over and say hello to us.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to be asking the question, what you think about online dating. That's something that has become a little bit more popular during this time. So don't go away. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the Siai Show. We are so glad that you are tuning in with us. Today's topic is on marriage and relationships. We've been having such a great time with my parents. Now, this show is about encouraging millennials as well as so many other things. And, with our generation, social media is pretty popular. We have Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. I know that the both of you are on there. But why don't you tell us, what do you think about online dating or dating through social media?
Well, one thing is I've never seen an ugly girl online or an ugly guy online. Everybody looks so good, and so online dating, we just need to go back to the reality of it. You're dating from behind the screen,
Yeah.
and your communication is not through the tone or the fluctuation of your voice, but it's through a keyboard, and so I mean. It's a catch-22 question because others have had some successful relationships when it came to meeting someone online.
Yeah.
But again, just how you have the pretty girl who takes a picture of herself and then her caption is "woke up like this." Yeah, right. Not even, So just going back to the genuineness
Yeah.
of relationships.
I think for me personally, if I was single, I wouldn't go that way. Simply because I'm not that brave
Yeah.
to meet a guy in such random ways. So it's more of a personal preference. I'm not saying that, I'm not being biased to those of you who do use online dating. But but I also think maybe the question is more along the lines of, what does the Bible say anything about online dating? And really, the Bible doesn't. The Bible doesn't really have a whole lot of examples of online dating because obviously it's a different generation, different time. But I think the Bible does have a lot of wisdom about a lot of issues in life. And so, I'll say I think my concern about about online dating would, in general, whether it be someone, we've known for a long time, or someone we've met online, is that people, usually misrepresent themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's whether you met your significant other online, or are you're planning to meet them online or in person. I think that's my concern generally
Yeah.
about dating, is that people do misrepresent themselves. We get all dolled up, put on our, our best behavior, hopefully with an engagement proposal
Yeah.
in mind. And so, to paraphrase one of the verses of the Bible, Proverbs 31:30, that says, charm does mislead and beauty fades.
Yes.
Profiles, like my husband says, are deceiving, and pictures are fleeting. And no one ever puts their worst picture
Yeah.
on their profile. They put their best, even if it's, a few years out of date. So really, yeah, you take the chance of really not catching the genuineness. So I think if you're going to use an online dating to meet your, significant other, I would say, try to get a personal meeting as soon as you can.
Yeah.
So because you really can't judge from online what people are really about. And then even if they are a stranger to you, hopefully they are not a stranger to someone that you do know personally.
Yeah.
Someone that can, give you the 411 on the person. So if you're going to go the online dating way, like I said, again, personally, I wouldn't do it if I was single. But if you're going to do it that way, because it is this generation, like you said, your generation, I would say, if they're going to be a stranger to you, at least let them not be a stranger to someone you can trust.
Well, like you said, the Bible really doesn't say anything about online dating, but it does say a lot about relationships.
Yeah.
Thinking of Psalms 1, it says, blessed is the man who walks not in the way of sinners, or stands not with, the scornful, or sits in the seat of the scornful. That Psalms is talking about relationships. And what online life has done is it has subtracted that equation of walking and sitting and standing.
That's great.
I mean, let's take, for example, even families. We're not even talking, we're just talking dating right now,
Yeah.
but even families texting each other while they're in the same house. They're not walking and standing and sitting with each other anymore. They're allowing the internet to be the middleman.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there is no more genuine type
Right.
feeling. And I like that verse that Mom used in Proverbs 30 about charm and deceit. You really you're not in a position to judge
Yeah.
what is real and what's not when you're online. So I may sound a little old-fashioned, but I think it works.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And the Bible also says, and maybe Dad, you can answer this, but he that finds a wife finds a good thing. And so maybe I'm asking this on behalf of our single girls out there in the millennial generation, but why do you think guys take so long to approach a woman? Or, why do they take so long to even ask the question of either going out to dinner or dating? Why do they take so long in doing that?
Well, when the Bible says when a man finds a wife, it's not saying wives or wives to be, or those of you who have potential to go hide. And so maybe that could be one thing, is the man is looking but can't find them because they're hiding now. Well, but going back to the question, I think a lot of it has to do with insecurity. A lot of it has to do with the makeup of a man is, no man wants to be turned down.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No man wants to say, "Hey, would you like to go to dinner with me?" What? No way. I'm not gonna go. But a lot of it has to do with helping young people to build up their confidence, that talking to the opposite sex and wanting to build a relationship, maybe first of all a friendship with the opposite sex, is not wrong. I grew up in an era where if I even said a girl was pretty, my dad would say, so you want to get married now? Is that? And I was like 9 years old.
It's like, no, I just think she's pretty.
But I think that could be some of the obstacles
Yeah.
that young guys, is self-confidence, just building up the boldness and being okay and learning how to speak to. And there goes another thing that the internet has done. It has taken away from us knowing how to speak to the opposite sex. Anybody could speak behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Awesome.
I think too that that with your generation, there's so many much more pools now. It's not like grandpa and grandma's generation, or maybe even a little bit of our generation, where when you're building relationship, that's what you have, and that at one time, believe it or not, it was the only pathway to happiness as far as people were concerned. But now in the millennial generation, you have so many options. And I'm not just talking about dating. I think you, with goal setting and careers, and you have all these other options that maybe relationship is not the option anymore, the only option anymore. So I think some people take longer because of that.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
a topic within itself right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Awesome. Now, before we go today, one last question is, if you could give advice about marriage or dating to your younger self, what would it be?
Go ahead.
That I think I had a couple of thoughts, but I think my one thought would be, you can't be deserving of love if you do not love yourself. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
good.
because I think a lot of times, I remember in my younger days, I don't really think that I wanted to date because I wanted to date. I think I just wanted to date because I looked all around and all my friends, were with someone.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like, that was the thing to do, to fit into the crowd. But, I also had a lot of friends that there was just so much baggage, even me, because you're dealing with insecurity that you're still trying to navigate yourself through. And when you're younger, you have a harder time because of so many pressures that are all around you about, you have to be a certain body size, because Hollywood and TV puts on that pressure. So I think if I could give advice to my younger self about love and marriage, you know what? Love yourself first.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
if you can show yourself unconditional love and compassion, I tell you what, it will be easier to navigate through the tides of any relationship, whether
Very
it's
good.
with a guy or just with girlfriends or just with anybody.
Yeah.
It just starts with you loving yourself and showing yourself love first and compassion.
That's great.
That's amazing, because my answer is almost like yours. And if I was to give my younger self some advice, it would be, would I date me? Would I
That's
date
good.
me? Because a lot of times dating, the focus is on the other person.
Yeah.
I want to impress the other person. I want to put on a good show for the other person. But knowing me, knowing my flaws and knowing my tendencies and knowing my ways, would I date me?
Very good.
Because that person is going to find out the
great.
real me.
Yeah.
And when they find out, they're going to be like, wow, you were a whole different person
Yeah.
last month.
Yeah.
What happened? Well, this is the real me.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
awesome.
anyway,
Yeah,
Wow.
That's good.
Man, I hope you've been taking notes or enjoying today, because I definitely have been. Thank you so much, Mom and Dad, for being on the show with us today. If you hashtag anything about today, please remember our hashtag is the Siai Show. And Mom and Dad, share with us your social media handles.
at Dave Katina.
Instagram, it's at Katina Debbie.
So we hope you enjoyed today. We'll catch you on the next episode. Everyone have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you later.
You'll see.